I installed cameras in my house to prove I wasn't insane. What I saw made me wish I never had. I've always considered myself a rational person, a mother, a nurse, a woman grounded in reality. But for the past few weeks, something's been wrong. I wake up at night drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, not from dreams, at least, not any I remember, but from something else, something I feel more than see. It always starts the same way. A soft thud, then another, bare footsteps, slow, measured, coming down the hallway. Sometimes I catch a glimpse in the mirror across my bed, just a shadow at the edge of the doorway. She never enters. She just watches. I tried convincing myself it was sleep paralysis, stress, an overactive imagination brought on by night shifts and loneliness. After all, I'm alone with my son in this house. He's only 7, a sweet, gentle boy. I need to be strong for him. But last Thursday, I found something that broke me. I woke up to my son crying. He said he saw a lady standing in the corner of his room. She doesn't have a face, he whispered, but she was smiling. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I made an appointment with a neurologist. I told him about the footsteps, the shadow, the dreams. I even told him about my son's story. He said I was under immense stress, single motherhood, work, fatigue. He mentioned sleep hallucinations, hypnagogic states, anxiety-induced delusions. But he said something else too, something strange. If it makes you feel safer, he said, set up a camera, a few. Sometimes seeing nothing with your own eyes. It helps the mind heal. I didn't tell him how terrified I was of seeing something. Still, that night, I set up the cameras. One in the hallway, one in my son's room, one in the living room. The screens blinked red, watching silently. I slept with the baby monitor on my nightstand. I barely closed my eyes. When the sun rose, I rushed to the laptop. I reviewed the footage from the hallway first. Hours of stillness, until 3:13 a.m. At first, I thought the footage had glitched, but then I saw her. A woman. She emerged from the hallway wall like water passing through a screen, dressed in what looked like a nun's veil, long, black, heavy. Her face was shrouded in darkness, but I could feel the cruelty radiating from her. She turned her head toward the camera, slowly, deliberately, and then vanished. I slammed the laptop shut. All day I tried to pretend I hadn't seen it. I took my son to school, I cleaned the house, I answered emails, but something in me had shifted. My hands trembled when I poured tea. I jumped at every creak. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room watching the monitor. My son slept peacefully, unaware. Nothing happened until 3:13. She appeared again, this time not in the hallway, but directly in my son's room, and she was moving toward his bed. I ran. I tore down the hallway, opened his door. No one, nothing. My son sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What's wrong, Mommy?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. "Bad dream. Go back to sleep." I kissed his forehead, tucked him in, and left. I didn't tell him about the woman, about the camera, about the thing that just vanished. I walked to the kitchen. I needed water, something to calm me down. As I stepped through the doorway, she was there, standing by the sink. Her veil fluttered even though the air was still. Her head slowly lifted. I still couldn't see her face, but I heard her voice. Low, broken, whispering, "Kill him." Then she was gone. I dropped the glass in my hand and started screaming. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat in the hallway until sunrise, staring at the closed door to my son's room. Every creak of the old house made me flinch. I kept checking the monitor, hoping, dreading, that she would appear again. But she didn't. The sun came up, birds chirped, the house looked normal, harmless, but I wasn't. Something had broken inside me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My thoughts ran in circles. I kept hearing her voice in my head. Kill him. I didn't take my son to school that day. I said I had a cold. I kept him close. I didn't want to let him out of my sight. Not because I feared for him, but because I feared myself. I kept the cameras running. I moved one into the kitchen, another into my bedroom. I needed to know where she came from, where she went. I even checked the walls, behind the curtains, inside the vents. I didn't find anything, but I felt it. That night I locked every door, every window. I closed the blinds. I made my son sleep in my bed. I left the lights on, but fear doesn't care about light. At 3:13, the hallway camera glitched again. My laptop screen flickered, then steadied. There she was. The same black veil, the same slow movements. But this time, she didn't look at the camera. She turned toward my son's room, our room. I watched, paralyzed, as she passed directly through the bedroom door without opening it. I turned. There was no one there, just me and my son, sleeping. But then the monitor's feed changed. It was now showing my bedroom, and she was standing at the foot of the bed, not on the camera, in front of me. I screamed and jumped up, knocking over the laptop. My son jolted awake, screaming too. I flicked on every light. No one, no shadow, no veil. He clung to me. I held him tighter than I ever had before. "Mama, why are you crying?" "I'm not," I lied. In the morning, I sent him to my sister's house. I told her I had work, but I didn't go to work. I watched the footage again. This time, I paused it at the moment she entered the bedroom. I zoomed in. Her face was still hidden, but something was clearer now. Her hands, they were rotting, skin stretched over bone, nails black and cracked, and she was holding something. I thought it was a book at first, but when I zoomed further, I realized it was a photo of me and my son, burned at the edges. I fell back in my chair. I called a priest. I called 3, actually. None answered. The one that did said he no longer got involved with domestic disturbances. I didn't mention the word ghost or demon. I knew better. They wouldn't believe me. No one would, except her. That night I locked myself in my bedroom, alone. I couldn't let my son come home. Not yet. The clock ticked louder than ever. Every minute felt like hours. I didn't turn on the cameras. I didn't need to. At 3:13 a.m., my bed began to shake. Not violently, just slightly, like something was breathing beneath it. Then the lamp beside me flickered twice, and then the voice came again. But this time it wasn't a whisper. It was inside my head. "You know it's the only way." I covered my ears, shut my eyes, screamed, but I couldn't escape it. It was crawling into me, filling me with something cold and endless. I saw flashes, my son's face, screaming, blood, my hands, her veil. I clawed at my scalp, trying to rip her out. I couldn't. When I opened my eyes, I was standing, and I was holding a knife. I don't remember picking up the knife. I don't remember walking to the kitchen. But there it was, cold, heavy, red-handled, in my grip. I dropped it as if it burned me. My knees hit the floor. I stayed there until sunrise, hugging myself, trying to breathe. That day I didn't eat, didn't speak. I just stared at the walls, waiting, listening. I didn't pick my son up from my sister's. I couldn't. What if I brought him back and she told me again, kill him? What if this time I listened? That night I sat in the living room. I wanted to stay awake, but my eyes betrayed me. I drifted off for a moment, just a moment, and woke up to silence, too silent. The monitor screen was black, all 3 cameras off. I rushed to the laptop. It was dead, not just asleep, like the battery had been drained. I ran to the hallway. The hallway light was flickering. I turned toward the bedroom and stopped. She was there, standing by the front door, veil swaying, hands folded, head bowed, facing me. But she wasn't looking at me. She wasn't looking at anything. She was waiting. For what? I took a step back. She raised her hand, slowly, and pointed to the hallway, to my son's empty room, to the door at the end of the hall. And she began walking, but not toward me, toward that door. I followed. Her feet didn't touch the ground. She floated in silence, her form shifting, the fabric of her veil breathing like lungs. As she reached my son's room, she stopped and vanished. I flung the door open, even though I knew no one was there. The bed was made, toys scattered, and on the pillow, a photo. Not one I owned, not one I had ever taken. It was me, holding my son, but my face was smeared in black, and his eyes had been burned out. I screamed and dropped the photo. I ran back to the laptop, plugged it in, waited for it to boot. When I opened the latest file, the playback began at 3:13 a.m. I saw myself, asleep on the couch, and behind me, she stood, arms out, leaning over me, veil brushing my shoulder. She wasn't alone. Something moved inside the veil, not her face. Something under her skin, a shape, crawling, twisting, like something alive. She leaned down and whispered something into my ear. I couldn't hear it clearly. I replayed it over and over until I finally understood. It wasn't a command this time, it was a question. Do you love him more than you love me? I locked every door in the house. I unplugged every camera. I even covered the mirrors. It didn't matter. She was inside me now. I felt her in my thoughts, in the spaces between them. A presence that hummed in the back of my skull, cold and patient. Do you love him more than you love me? The question kept circling in my head like a wasp. I didn't know what it meant, who she was, why she chose me. But I felt her jealousy, her hunger, and her rage. That night I tried something desperate. I prayed. Not to God, not exactly. Just to anything, something good, something stronger than her. But silence was the only thing that answered. Then came the footsteps. I heard them again, deliberate, wet, closer this time. They didn't stop at the hallway. They came to my bedroom door. Then the knob turned. My door creaked open by itself. She didn't enter. Instead, I heard her voice from the kitchen. Come here. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I followed. Each step down the hallway felt like walking deeper into my own grave. The lights flickered as I passed. When I reached the kitchen, it was pitch black, but I could see her, silhouetted against the window, still, waiting. And then she turned to me. But it wasn't just her anymore. Her veil was gone. What I saw beneath wasn't a woman. Her face was twisted, pulled taut like stretched leather. Her eyes were pits of coal, steaming. Her mouth was a torn line from cheek to cheek, splitting open as she screamed, "Kill him!" The walls shook, plates shattered. The fridge door slammed open, and she rushed at me. I fell backwards and hit the floor. But when I looked up, she was gone. Only one thing remained, the kitchen knife, balanced perfectly upright in the middle of the floor. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't feel. I stared at the knife for hours. At one point, I heard her whisper again, not angry this time, not shouting, but soft, like a mother's lullaby. You'll be free. I went to pick up my son the next morning. He ran to me, wrapped his arms around my waist, laughed. I didn't smile back. In the car, he asked me if I was okay. I nodded. I lied. That night, I cooked him his favorite, mac and cheese with little hot dog slices. He danced around the kitchen like nothing had ever happened, like there wasn't something living in our house, living in me. After dinner, he watched cartoons while I sat in my room, lights off, hands shaking. The knife was under my bed now, waiting, just like she was. 3:13 a.m. came without warning. The air changed, thickened. I felt her arrive. I didn't need a camera to know where she was. I walked to my son's room. He was asleep, so peaceful, so small. I stood in the doorway, listening to her voice whispering through my skull like smoke. He is the reason you suffer. Free yourself. I closed the door, walked to the kitchen, took the knife, and came back. I stood over his bed. He stirred. Mama, he whispered. I didn't answer. My hands moved on their own, but before the blade fell, he reached out, touched my face, and said, I love you. The spell cracked. Something inside me screamed. Not her, me! I dropped the knife, collapsed on the floor, gasping. She didn't scream this time. She didn't speak. She just laughed and vanished. The next morning, I walked into the nearest police station. I told them everything about the voices, the figure, the cameras, the knife. They didn't believe me. They never do. They said I was unwell, delusional, that there was no footage, no evidence. They took my son away. That was months ago. Now I sit here, writing all this, not to beg forgiveness, not to plead for help, but to confess. Because last night I saw her again, not in the hallway, not in the kitchen, but in the mirror, smiling. And behind her, my son, smiling too.